Want to avoid 6 most common web copy mistakes that's repelling clients from your website? If that's you, you should finish watching this video. Hi, I am 𝗗𝗫𝐿 Silva. I am a client acquisition coach for copy and content writers, and in this video, you watch web copy expert David Justin giving a feedback step-by-step in a real copy and showing its mistakes that you should avoid.
We're going to start a new fun part of this presentation. We're going to do a copy critique of one of our friends, Brandon. And I'm sorry, Brandon, if you're listening. I'm going to butcher your last name because I don't know if it's 𝗵𝐴 or just bunch, because it's 𝗵𝑢𝑛𝐶ℎ𝒄. And so I don't know which way it's pronounced. So I'm going to say bunch for right now, and I'll apologize later if that's wrong. But Brandon volunteered his website, Onyx Copywriting, for us to take a look at, take apart, and say what's good, what's bad about it. And that way everybody kind of learns like how to improve your website. Okay, so the first section, I just took screenshots of his site. The first section here is what we call the hero section. And it's the very first section of your website. It's called a hero section because it is what you want people to see. And it's, what you first and what you want them to believe in. It's literally like it's the superhero portion of your whole website or of your whole page. Okay, so the home page is the most important page on your site, because you have less than 1 minute to make your first impression. Now, I know there's a lot of different studies out there. Some people say it's 6 seconds. Some say it's 1.5 minutes, to make that first impression. But generally speaking, you have less than 1 minute to make your first impression and make it count. So your web page design needs to be clean and professional. Your copy needs to be conversational and customer driven. And you should focus more on how your client will benefit from hiring you versus what you actually do. So talking about this section of, the hero section here from Brandon's page, he starts off the whole thing with this great header. Get peace of mind. Get peace of mind with words that convert. Peace of mind is a great benefit, and it does speak to the audience's pains, because at the end of the day, they don't want to have to worry about their marketing. However, my only concern with this intro is that, all right, so going into the body copy here, it says your creative small business can increase revenue with captivating sales copy that turns online visitors into raving loyal fans. The subject of this sentence is your target audience, which is it's a good thing to identify. However, it's not the best way to introduce this. Instead, focus on telling your audience what's possible with your services. And also, it's real difficult to create a fandom, so don't overpromise on what you can deliver. So that part right there goes to like what we talked about earlier, unspoken rule number 3, the audience is smarter than you think. Don't exaggerate or overpromise something, because it is really difficult to create a fandom. And as far as the CTA goes, let's chat. I said this 100% this works. It's simple, it's conversational copy, and it is a 100% clear CTA. Okay, so if Brandon were to hire me as a copywriter to come in and rewrite his copy based strictly on what's on his page, without any conversations whatsoever, this is what I would change. I would change the headline to get peace of mind with customer-centric messaging. So you're still keeping the peace of mind part, but you're telling them how they're going to be receiving the peace of mind with customer-centric messaging. So the messaging is part of the thing that they understand. And then also the customer-centric part is saying that we're going to be talking directly to your customers. Increase revenue with captivating sales copy that understands and speaks directly to your audience, converting them from prospects to customers. So again, this is a benefit-driven CTA in the beginning, increase revenue. So that's what they want to do. I mean, that's the reason why they're in business and why they're marketing, is because they want to increase their revenue, boost sales. So tell them what to do whenever you write your copy. Okay, next slide. All right. Section 2 of his homepage starts off with, you don't have to be an army of one. When I read this, and this might be the cynical part of me, but my first question was in my head was, but what if I want to be an army of one? By saying that you don't have to, you're giving me an option. And so what you should be doing is be direct and tell them what to do. Going into the next part of the copy there, it says, I know you want to transform more prospects into loyal fans. When you start the sentence with the word I, you shift your focus from them to you. So what you should do is flip the wording around to make your customer the focus. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. And then in the next sentence, or the next part, it says you need a messaging specialist and advertising writer to connect more of your community with your products and services. While that's true, as a prospect, I'm confused on what I actually need. Is it a messaging specialist, or is it an advertising writing? Or sorry, an advertising writer, or are they the same? What if I just want new website copy and I don't want to run any ads? So you run the risk of confusing them if you kind of leave things kind of vague like that. And throughout the whole section, what I found was that it's missing the opportunity to address the pains that most entrepreneurs have. And also, there's no introduction. Brandon doesn't introduce himself on this copy. In fact, going through the whole website, I couldn't find his name anywhere on the site, not even on the About page. And that's kind of a big deal. If you're running a small business, people want to know who you are. They want to know who is, if you have team members, they want to know who's on the team. They want to be able to connect with actual people, not corporations. When you're dealing with a company like Ford or Coke or iPhone, or Apple, we don't necessarily care about individual people. But I will say this, as far as say, for example, AT&T, I don't know who their CEO is, but at the AT&T store not too far from my house that I've been going to for years, I know the guy that has been helping me for years is this gentleman named Jesse, and he's awesome. So, and I've made a connection with him. So for smaller companies, though, you need to be on that. You need to have yourself on the page to say who you are so that people can connect to you right away. Okay. And then down at the bottom of this statement, there's the statements, take 60 seconds to see my previous work and then see the portfolio. Well, first of all, don't ever put a time limit on something like this, because you're giving them permission to leave early or to leave after 60 seconds. You're saying you can leave now, and you don't want them to do that, because you do want them to stay on your site for as long as possible. And as far as see the portfolio, come on, take ownership of your work. Be proud of it. So instead of see the portfolios, check out my portfolio. Okay. And if you'll go to the next page. Okay, so a suggested copy, instead of saying you don't have to be an army of one, I'd say don't go it alone. That way I'm not telling them that they have an option. I'm telling them what to do. Do not go alone. And then I started talking, we talk about the pains, as an entrepreneur, a small business owner. That way you say that so that you do target your audience, right? You tell who you're targeting for. Talk about, we're going to talk about a lot of important responsibilities, they have to handle themselves, from daily operations and accounting to sales and logistics. And don't forget chief coffee maker. And I put that in there for a little bit of levity. I like to put a little bit of humor in web copy if I can, to make it more human. And also it's 100% true. Me, myself, I am a small business owner. I am the only person in my business, and nobody else makes me coffee. I am the chief coffee maker, But for me, all those things apply, and every day is a struggle, because I'm constantly having to trade one hat for another, doing finances and doing accounting, and then doing the actual work and doing marketing. So focus on that part, and then tell them that it doesn't, and tell them the truth. It doesn't leave you a lot of room to focus on your audience. So you need to find a partner that understands your business and the value you bring to your customers, someone that can help you with that. And then introduce yourself. So, hi, I'm Brandon Bunch, and I'm a copywriter that specializes in crafting copy that focuses on your prospects and how your products or services solve their problems and positively impacts their lives. Check out my portfolio. So take ownership of your portfolio, introduce yourself, and tell them exactly what you're there to do. Okay. Next slide. All right. So again, we're still on the home page. This is section 3 of the home page. And he starts off with the question, is it really easier to do on your own? Now, while this question is a bit confusing, I do understand the gist of it. And it is a really good question to ask because it does start addressing your customers or your audience's objections. And by rewording it, you can actually really specify what they're afraid of. And I'll show you that in just a second. The rest of this section, the whole point's made of bullet points, but it shouldn't be. You could break this down into some really effective sentences and use bullet points at the end, because bullet points are a really great way to provide information in abbreviated list form, and because they're easy to consume and they're easy to retain. One concern I do have is in the second bullet point, we mentioned the company Fiverr. If you're going to mention a brand name, make sure you spell it correctly because there's 2 R's at the end. And, a lot of this, the end of it is a bunch of questions, and questions are a great way to engage your audience. And this would be a great place, to have bullet points. And then at the end, the CTA here to about me, that's real awkward worded. And it doesn't encourage me to do anything because I don't understand exactly what you're wanting me to do. So if you go to the next page, I actually address this when I write my suggested copy, because there are going to be people out there that would rather just hire a freelancer from Fiverr or Upwork or something like that, or content mill site. So if you'll go to the next slide. All right. So let's go back to the intro question there. Is it really easier to do on your own? And I do love questions. I think questions are great for engagement, for drawing the audience in and making them stop and think. Every time anytime I've read a question, I have stopped and thought about about my answer for that question. So do you really need, so I changed this up just a little bit to kind of focus more on their fear or their concern. Do you really need to hire a professional copywriter instead of doing it on your own? Do you need to hire a professional copywriter? And I answer that depends on how serious you are about scaling your business or connecting with your audience on a more personal level. Of course, there's more affordable options, so I'm, again, addressing the fears, offering alternative solutions, but I'm going to rebuke those or argue against those alternative solutions by saying, you could continue to write your messaging on your own or with fill-in-the-blank templates purchased from a content mill site. But do you really want to trust your audience engagement and messaging to a marketing versions of Mad Libs? Because that's kind of what that is. And there are also low-key freelance copywriters for hire on sites like Fiverr and Upwork. But will they understand your audience and your marketing strategies or how to utilize your voice to connect with your prospects? So you can tell them, yes, like what he had started here and what I followed up on was that, yes, you can tell those are definitely options that small businesses and entrepreneurs can go with. But by asking these follow-up questions, but will they understand? But will they, or, do you really want to trust? You're inserting a little bit of question and fear into whether or not they can depend on those lesser quality services for providing the type of content or copy that they need to become truly successful and to really reach a good audience or their targeted audience. And so keep going with this particular, suggested copy by saying, get the most out of your marketing with different types of online engagement. So I think this is really important in your homepage copy to go ahead and say, what are the products that you offer? You don't have to go into a lot of detail on them. Just kind of do little hits to where they understand what what you're offering. And then because Brandon's a military veteran, I 100% think that he should use that as part of his hook. And so I went in and said, as a military veteran writer, I have unique experiences and skill sets I use to create marketing documents that connect you with your audience more effectively. Want to know more? Get to know me. So this is 100%. It helps drive people to his about page to learn more about him as a person and how his personal experiences can help them, or how his personal experiences can help him write the copy and the messaging that's going to help his customers connect with their audiences better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. All right.
I love the way you put it there, though. Your suggested one. Do you really need to hire a professional writer? Like, and then you give it all the reasons that they should. I love it.
All right. Next page.
Okay.
All right. Just imagine this. Okay, I'm going to just say this. The word imagine is one of the greatest words in the copywriter's toolbox, because when you use the word imagine, you're telling your audience to actually use their own mind to really think about what something could be. You know, it's like
the possibilities for them. Yes,
it's the same as the term what if, you know. Yeah. Which I love that as well, because then you can start exploring, like, well, you know, different alternative, you know, realities, kind of sort of on this. So what Brandon did here was just imagine this, and then asked a lot of what if questions. Okay. So using the word imagine is a great way to engage your audience. And then my only critique on that part is just make sure to use every headline to tie into your offering, you know, what you're wanting to offer. And while I do love asking questions, to engage the audience, asking too many questions sometimes can turn them away. So change some of these to calls to action, and then you'll let your audience know what they can expect by working with you. In this particular CTA, schedule a discovery call. When I'm working on a personal website or for a B2C website, I do not like formal speak. So don't be so formal in your CTA unless your audience is, you know, your target audience requires it. Conversational copy is much more effective with most audiences. And some members of your audience, especially if they're a new business, they may not know what a discovery call is. So make it a little bit easier to understand and to connect with, so they know like what you want them to do. So next slide. All right. So for the suggested copy on this, instead of just imagine this, I wrote it up as imagine partnering with a professional copywriter that understands you. That says a lot more and gives them a lot more to think about. It's like, imagine partnering with a professional copywriter. So you already know you're working with someone that knows what they're doing, but then you're saying that understands you. So that means that this is a person that's going to go in and get into the nitty gritty of you, your business, your products and services, your audience, and be able to utilize all that information to really benefit you. And so then I gave another right after that. It's a benefit-driven CTA. Make it a reality, and you'll reap the benefits. So focus on your overall marketing strategy without getting bogged down with individual tasks. Rest easy knowing you have reliable partners, a partner that's in sync with your brand messaging strategy. Get the support and experience you need to evangelize your products and services to your audience. And all of these are things that Brandon said in his copy, but he asked them as questions. I'm using it as benefit-driven CTAs to where people know, oh, this is what I need to do to be successful. So it helps drive them to do what what they're wanting to do. And then asking the question at the end, you ready to transform your business? And then create a CTA. Let's create a winning strategy. I'm not asking them to make a call or schedule a call. I'm telling them, let's create a winning strategy. Let's get working on it.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
Yes, exactly.
So I like that you put just 3 short bullet points. And like you said, while Brendan is telling them to imagine all of those things, like asking the questions to tell them to imagine, you are already telling, okay, imagine this, and that, bullet points of like what the possibilities, what it could be with that for them, what just if could be for them, what the possibilities, what everything that good and beneficial can happen to their businesses just if they start working with Brandon.
Yes, 100%. All right, so next page. And this is where we switch over to the About section. Okay, and what most people don't realize, or a lot of people don't realize, is the About page is the second most visited page on your site after your home page. So you always need to make it something worth reading. So inject your brand personality in it, leverage your own X factor to make it stand out. And if you don't know what your X factor is, that's that thing that differentiates you from every other copywriter out there. It might be your background. It might, or, your previous, work experiences. It might be, your love or passion for a certain thing. For me, Star Wars, as you can tell from the stuff that's sitting behind me. I'm a big Star Wars geek, and so I utilize that. And the fact that I am a geek, I use that as part of my marketing so people understand who I am. And there's anything that you can use as leverage to become your X factor or what makes you stand out. For Brandon, he's a military veteran and he's a writer. I mean, these are things that people immediately attach to. I never served in any of the armed services. I'm very appreciative of the people that did. And I did have older family members that did. And I respect, pardon my language, I respect the hell out of those people, because of the sacrifices that they made and the commitment and the service that they gave to our country. So I do pay attention when I see somebody says that they're a military veteran. My ears perk up a little bit and I want to pay attention to it.
So just interrupting you, David, I think it's so interesting, this thing in marketing when it comes to authenticity. Because before, when I didn't know nothing about marketing, but I love the fact that you actually need to be authentic to get your dream clients, because the thing is, people that have similar values or background than you, like your ideal clients, they're going to feel connected to you. And they will want to possibly work with you just because of your connections. Like, one of my first clients as a coach was a lady from Florida. And I don't know how she found out. Maybe she researched about me, but she said something like, "Oh, you are Christian. I want to work with someone that is Christian, has Christian." I don't know where she get that from, but people are very attentive about your values or about who you are, your background. Yes. They do. And that's what you said. It's important for him to give people more about who he is, because people connect with people.
Yes. I've had a handful of clients that after our, first initial call, at the end of it, I asked them, so, why did you decide to give me a call? And several of them have said, well, because you're a real big Star Wars geek and so am I.
Oh,
it's that simple thing, that I love Star Wars and I share that with, on my website, and people see that and they're like, oh, I love Star Wars too. I bet I have a lot, I bet I can relate to this guy.
Yeah, commonalities that people you shared, right? So I don't know for you, like what are your views on it? But yeah, authenticity beats a lot of your competition. Like you will help you to beat the competition.
Right. And I think authenticity, that it says a lot to me. I not too long ago was asked to write an email, and it was kind of an apology email for a client to their customer or to their prospect base, because they realized that after, I think it was 6 months, that one of their functions on their website where it said, if you're interested in knowing more, getting more information, fill out this form, and hit, give us your email address and we'll get back to you. Something happened to where all of those emails, all those messages got dumped into like a hidden file somewhere, and they didn't even know they were getting emails. And so finally they realized it, found the files, and then they decided they wanted to write an email to send out to everybody. And they wrote up a rough draft, sent it to me, and it was very formal. And I fixed it. I made it sound better. But then I wrote a second one all on my own that was more personal, more conversational. And one of the things that I said in that second email, the more informal was, hey, we really screwed up. We're so sorry about that and so embarrassed. We want to make it up to you. And instead of saying, due to a technical problem, we've your information was misplaced for so long, and we'd like to reach out now to connect with you. So I wrote both of them, and everybody that read it said that the second one, the informal one, the one where we said, hey, our bad, we screwed up, you know, talking like someone would actually talk, was much more engaging and was more valuable to the prospects. You know, unfortunately, in the end, they decided, hey, we're not even going to send out any email at all. We're just going to move on like business as usual. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a shame on their part, because if they would have done that, I think they would have had a lot of prospects come to them and say, hey, you know, thanks for being so honest about it. And, you know, we want to, you know, work with you now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because it's authentic. We are human. We do make mistakes. Technology is not infallible. It screws up. Mm-hmm. You know, point being, I mean, perfect example. Earlier in this presentation, your computer glitched and we had to start over. You know, it happens. And we need to take ownership of that and acknowledge it and recognize it and say, hey, you know, sorry about that. And let's, you know, let me make it up to you and let's move on. And that's what we have to do when we write our copy. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, yeah. That's,
all right.
Thank you.
Let's go back to talking about Brandon here on his website. So one thing about your About page, I know over and over again, I talk a lot about how all your website copy should be customer driven. If you can, don't use the word I anywhere on your homepage. If you can get away with it, use the word you and your as much as possible. And then there's the About page. And the About page is the fun page, because this is finally the place where you get to talk about yourself. So do it. Now, you should also make sure you're focusing on your customer and selling your services and selling the value and the benefit of your services, but use yourself to sell those things. So Brandon started off his About section with get compelling sales copy for your products and services. And there's a picture of Brandon. He's a good looking guy. I like that. You know, I like having pictures of people on their websites because I want to see who I'm working with. And so instead of saying get compelling sales copy for your products and services, I changed it up. I write compelling sales copy for your products and services because I want them to know I'm the one that's doing this. And then I go ahead and I introduce myself again. Hey there, Brandon Bunch, reporting for duty. And I used that reporting for duty term specifically because he's ex-military, you know, a military veteran. You know, it speaks to who he is and says, and then I go on. As a military veteran, I know the planning and discipline it takes to accomplish a mission. 100% truth. I mean, that's all they do is they plan and they instill discipline, and they, you know, have missions that they go out and accomplish. And so that kind of thought process and that kind of objective driven drive, I know that's kind of a weird phrase, but that's what people want. You know, they want to know that if I hire this guy or anybody, that they're going to have a plan, they're going to follow through with it, and in the end, and it's going to be completed on time, and then in the end, it's going to, you know, have results. And so when you start talking, for Brandon, if he starts mentioning using these little military terms in there, people associate that with, yeah, this is somebody that's going to get the job done. And so talking about being a military veteran, and now I'm using that experience to help amplify the voices of businesses just like yours. Let's schedule a call. Good, clean CTA at the end to where it's more, it's simple and direct, and that's what we need. So next page. All right. So his next section in here says, why do I do this? And again, another picture of Brandon, very personality driven picture. I love it. He's out with his dog. Now he starts off, why do I do this? My issue with this, with leading with this question, is the fact that if you're going to lead with this question in your header, it needs to be the first thing that you answer in the body copy. And he doesn't do that. And also, some of these points seem to be out of order. You should be focusing on how your past experience have made you the person you are today and how you use them to provide a better service to your customers. Because in here, he talks about after 5 years in military command and control space. So that's the past. But then he says, as a copywriter, and then the next one is as a person in the intersection of multiple marginalized identities. So what he should do is flip-flop some of this around, because just like this, to where instead of saying, why do I do this? And one of the things he said in his opening paragraph was talking about his mission. And so change that to your headliner. It's my mission to help businesses like yours find your voice. And then talk about after serving 5 years in military command and control. And Brandon, that I may have worded that wrong. I don't know all the military jargon and how it's supposed to be put together. So if I messed that up, I'm sorry. But after 5 years in military command and control, I've learned the key to communication is to speak directly to my audience in a clear and concise way. And that's 100% true in the military. They don't mess around. They tell you what to do. Exactly. Like, go climb that hill, go, give me 100 push-ups, whatever it is that they tell you to do. They don't sit there and beat around the bush about it. They tell you what to do directly in a clear and concise way. And then on top of that, besides serving his country, and he should 100% say that, he's also a member of several marginalized communities, Black American, LGBTQIA, and he has ADHD. Says, and tell, what does that mean for you, for him and for you as the audience, as the prospect? It means I know firsthand what it's like to see advertising that doesn't include me, yet alone speak my language. So as a copywriter, I channel these personal experiences and work with you to understand your customers so that we can find your voice and connect you with the people you're trying to reach. Again, talking about marginalized communities. Who better to understand how to talk to someone in a marginalized community than someone who is part of that community? And together we'll come up with a winning strategy that markets your products and services in a way that speaks directly to your audience. It's time to talk. Let's schedule that call. And by saying it's time to talk, I'm putting a time-sensitive CTA on this. It's one thing if you were to say, hey, so think about it and let me know. Whenever somebody says that, you're like, all right, I'll take my time and I'll think about it. And so often people don't come back to you. But if you tell them it's time to talk, right now is the time, they're more apt to make a decision right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah, I love that. And that he mentioned about that he's also part of the minority. So business owners that support minorities or are connected to minorities or are part of the minorities, they're going to feel very connected to him because of his story.
Yes. All right. So the portfolio page, I don't have any suggestion on this because the portfolio page, that's all it is. And he's got some great examples here, some writing examples, and we all want to see, every customer always wants to see writing examples because they do want to see, like, what are you doing? What are you writing that will make me, want to buy your service? Mm-hmm. But not every business owner knows what these marketing mediums are, or the benefits, the individual benefits or specific benefits they bring to a marketing strategy. So I would take the time here to explain what these different things are, and then, and their benefits, and then provide factual and or social proof to back up your claims. So if you're talking about, I know one of his things on here was email marketing. And if you're going to do that, provide an example of your email marketing. And then if you can get the information back from your client, find out about click-through rate. How many emails were opened, how many links were clicked, because that will help drive the proof. And also for any of these, ask the customer for a testimonial so that they come out and say, hey, hired Brandon to improve our email marketing, our click-through rate improved by 20% after we hired him, and our sales increased by 10%. Those are, they don't seem like big numbers, but they are big numbers because, think about if you could improve your monthly sales, your monthly income by 10%, would you do it? Because I would. Mm-hmm. I'm happy with increasing by 1%. I'm still that person that when I walk down the street, if I see a quarter on the street, I'm going to pick it up because, hey, that's 25 cents. Mm-hmm. I understand the value of money, and your customers do too. And they want to know that they're getting a good return on their investment. So give them actual factual or social proof to back up the claims and show them the benefits of these different types of mediums. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I want to mention, if he had never worked for a client or for someone, let's say for people that hasn't had work for someone, what they could do is also the other thing is like if taking a course which has great results, they could use like, you know, I'm using the method of these experts and it works. You know, we got these results. That's a great way of, you know, showing social proof as well. But best is if you can have actual from customers that you work for, and you could do that on commission based to get testimonial. Work on a commission based. Go ahead, David.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add?
All right. So let's go to the next page. Next slide. Okay. So this is the contact page, and the contact page is a weird thing because most people just put together something real basic and it's almost treated as an afterthought. But to be honest, the contact page is the second most important page on your website because this is how your clients are going to contact you. It's your ultimate CTA because the 100%, the only purpose of this page is to give your clients a way of reaching out and connecting to you. So if they land here, there is a good chance that you're going to be getting an email or a phone call from them. So you want to make sure that you make a great last impression before they reach out to you. And so on this copy, and it's kind of small and hard to read. I'm sorry, I did a bad screenshot on this one. But I will say this. While you can get away with breaking grammar rules throughout your copy, and I love breaking grammar rules. I like starting sentences with the word and or but, and I like making abbreviated sentences, you know, where they're not like a real sentence, but I pretend like it is. One thing you can't do is leave typos or misspelled words in your copy. And on this one, Brandon misspelled the word genuinely. Don't mean to throw you under the bus, Brandon, but you did, and so that needs to be fixed. Whenever you write your copy, I always write all my website copy in a Word doc. And when I do that, I use Grammarly to go through all my web copy to make sure it sounds good. You know, and I use the free version of Grammarly. And then once I have it done there, then I move it to my web page. So just make sure that you got everything correct. Now, as far as this page goes, I wanted to have it be a little bit more direct and a little bit more genuine. So instead of saying, let's schedule that discovery call, I want to be a little bit more in your face, you know, about it and say, let's do this. You know, this is the day you take your first step to creating a new improved version of your business. Again, this makes it time sensitive where people are saying, oh God, yeah, I need to do this. It's time to plan a marketing strategy that creates a genuine connection with your prospects and brings value to their lives. Again, focusing on the connection that you're building and bringing value. You're not once are we talking about, you know, now it's time to, you know, write emails and to write website copy or anything of that. It's all about what are you bringing to the customers, or what are you bringing to the customer? And then I go ahead and say, oh yeah, it'll improve your business by boosting your sales too, because ultimately that is a goal. But that, again, a little bit of levity and a little bit of, you know, hey, let's bring this back to what this is really about. You know, so what are you waiting for? Fill out the form and let's get to work. Okay. So now I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has for anything.
One, if you don't have any questions, or if you do have questions, you gotta go and ask in the group. Best if you ask in the group, don't message David privately, because then it could be a question from somebody else and it will save him time of answering a lot of questions. But if you wanna get David, hire David for your services, if you wanna save up time, or even maybe, I don't know if David do that, if you land your first clients and if you want pay David to help you, I don't know if you do that, but just connect with him and negotiate. You never know. You never know until you ask. But this was great. I loved it. I loved everything, all the presentation. It was simple. It was very easy to digest and to understand. I'm super grateful. Thank you very much again, David, for taking the time for doing that.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to be a part of this.
Yeah, and I'm going to leave your contact in the event, because whenever people refer to the event, they are going to see your contact. I guess people don't have any questions because I was speaking for a few seconds. It gave them time to, but that's good. That's good. They might be thinking maybe of the questions. Thank you for being here, and have a great rest of your day, David.
Okay, well, thank you, and goodbye, everybody. Hope you all have a great day.
Goodbye.
Bye.